So I'm going to talk about a few topic items. One, what does it mean to be a football fan? What does it mean to be a football fan? And then afterwards, I will talk about, you know, the North London Derby, maybe Chelsea, or any other subject matters that we have time to talk about. So, first things first, let whoa, we already destroying things here. Let me get comfortable. Let me sit back. Let me relax, and then yes, we are here. We are good to go. All right. So, what does it mean to be a fan? Right. So far, we're in week 3 of the new season, and there has been the international break. Right. And what has happened is that we now have some players that have been injured over this break. And more importantly, we have players on the Arsenal team that are injured. And one of the things that I think is interesting when this happens, especially with this particular team, is that whenever they lose a game, whenever they draw a game, or whenever they drop points, there seems to be this hysteria around how the world is falling apart. And this has got me thinking that there has got to be something about this team that whatever happens to them generates this kind of visceral reaction from everyone, whether they are fans of Arsenal or not. One of the first things you start hearing people say on the internet is essentially that, oh no, this season is over. Edu or Ateta should have done this. The Kroenkes should have done that. They didn't do this. They didn't do X, Y, or Z at the beginning of the season or during the summer break. Now, one of the things that I want to talk about, what is the role of fans in football? What is the role of fans in football? Because I have come to believe that there are so many people that their happiness in life outside of football revolves around whether or not their team does well or some sort of some sort of some sort of happiness at the downfall of their rival teams. So in other words, they are not making a choice to be happy in their own personal lives. They are looking at what is going on with this other team, what is going on with that person, and therefore I'm going to base my happiness over that, because otherwise it makes sense to me that something as significant and also insignificant as football would generate that. The whole point of all of this discussion always seems to be to banter, to make fun of the other person. Oh, your player is now injured. Now we're going to make fun of you because of that. There isn't any substance, any depth to the conversation or to the idea of what's going on. It's just very basic. You lose a game. You bottled it. What does it mean to bottle anything in football anymore these days? What does it mean to bottle anything in football anymore these days? Like you have to go undefeated for you or fans not to be bullied online or made fun of or made to feel terrible with the football team that you support. With Arsenal in particular, there's just been a ridiculous amount of controversy surrounding whatever they do. So one of the newest controversies, and I will say controversies, quote unquote, is the fact that Martin Odegaard got injured in the international break. And everyone has lost their damn minds because this guy got injured. People are now talking about how this season is over. Everyone has become an expert. They want this person fired. They want that person fired. What about just being a fan? Why does anybody have to lose their job? It's football. You can speak your opinions about somebody not doing X, Y, or Z properly. Why does it always have to be somebody losing their jobs? Okay, you want to win a trophy, and I'm sure what I'm saying now is heresy. How dare you talk about enjoying the process, taking things day by day, taking games game by game? How dare you talk about that? Enjoying watching the team that has been bad for many years, a lot of ups and downs. How dare you suggest that people just enjoy the process? You will get ostracized or chastised for saying trust the process, which apparently was the catchphrase for Mikel Arteta, right? Like he would say trust the process, when he started building the team. Now, let's talk a little bit about Mikel Arteta. I mean, there is this question about if the team doesn't win at the end of the season, should it be fired? My view on that is you can fire whoever you want. First of all, the fans, I guess, do not have the power to do that. But conceptually, the owners can fire this person. But are you sure that you have evaluated what he was hired to do? When he was hired, if he was told, like, look, we want you to gut out the team, we want you to tear everything down and build it back up, understanding that it will take a while before anyone starts, the team starts winning. Is that one thing? Because that was exactly what happened, right? That was exactly what happened. When he came into the team, they had to let a lot of players go. They had to cancel contracts. They had to sell players on a fire sale. They had to release players. They had to do all of these crazy things. And they started buying players little by little, one after the other. Ben White, Martin Odegaard, all of these folks. Until 2 seasons ago, when they competed. When they competed 2 seasons ago and the last season, they took Man City to the final game of the season. And this seems to be one thing that is always overlooked when you look at this Arsenal team. On the one hand, everyone says the best coach of all time, the best manager of all time is Pep Guardiola. Arteta is a baby compared to this man. Like he knows nothing. Like you can't even mention their names in the same sentence. And then you have Man City that has a team that has been at the top level, winning for years before even Arteta was hired. They were already winning the league. They already had the history. They already have the benefit of starting earlier. And then when this man loses to the best person of all time, they say he should be fired. And that is the part that I don't understand. Like, if you say this is the best coach of all time, it means you are admitting that there's probably no other person that could beat this guy. Now, if you say, you know what, it still doesn't matter. I just don't like the guy. I don't rate him. And I think that is what people should say because there are so many people that never rated this man. They never liked the fact that he got a job. And I think that is where people should be honest with themselves and with their feelings about Mikel Arteta. Now, going to the North London Derby, the question is going to be with Declan Rice out, Martin Odegaard out, and also Mikel Merino out. What is going to happen? How are they going to cope? I invite you to look at what Mikel Arteta did 2 seasons ago when Arsenal played against Newcastle. I remember going to that game. Everyone wrote Arsenal off. This was a game at Newcastle. And I believe maybe they lost earlier in the season. Everyone wrote them off and said they're going to lose that game because the Newcastle midfield was excellent. They were big, powerful, strong. They could run. In that midfield, Arsenal had Jorginho in there and someone else I don't remember. Maybe Granit Xhaka? Yeah, maybe Jorginho and Granit Xhaka. Arsenal won that game 2-0. After the game, they asked Mikel that, you know, everyone thought that you were going to play Thomas Partey because Partey was on the bench. He had been injured. Like, why did you do what you did? He said something to the effect of, we know what we're good at. And we decided to rely on our strength rather than focus on the weaknesses. So, in other words, they approached that game from a position of strength. And that was when I knew, when he said that, was when I knew that a lot of Arsenal fans have no clue about what they're talking about when they watch games or the strategies and all of that. This is not to say this man is perfect, but this is his job. He spends every working day thinking, dreaming, strategizing, working with his team, coming up with strategies and ideas to make the team better. From his perspective, it's not to say it's going to be perfect. It's not to say that it's going to be the best person for the job or it's going to be the best at the job. But it is to say that he probably knows more than keyboard coaches, people that are sitting behind their keyboards, crying every day, and talking about how they have ambition. It's one of the most overused words in the history of, you know, social media football. Ambition. God forbid that you just want to enjoy watching your team. And you say, you know what? I think it's doing, you don't have ambition. It is one of the most annoying and frustrating things that you ever hear people talk about. And now the other thing now becomes okay, during the summer, everyone and their mama talked about how Arsenal needed a striker. Why? Because apparently Man City, they have a robot called Erling Haaland, who is not human, who will score 150 goals in one season. I'm going to say something like, whenever you find yourself on the one side of an issue and you disagree with the other side, try sometimes to think about the other person's perspective. Like, don't just assume that they are stupid, right? Don't always assume that they are stupid. Now, I also thought, or I think, that Arsenal should have gotten it forward. But the question has to be, why didn't they get it forward? Is it because they couldn't find one? Is it because they didn't know that they needed one? Is it because they didn't think that they needed one? Or are there other reasons in fact, where they thought that they could manage with what they have? They had a specific target. And if they don't get that target, they're not gonna get desperate and just go buy a player that they don't feel will work in the long term just for the sake of spending money. You know, a lot of fans tend to think in the short term. Oh, we were very close last year, 2 points behind. So therefore, if you go by this person, you will get ahead. But is football that linear where you have to go buy someone for you to get better as a team? Is it possible to have a world where the team itself can actually get better? The individual players that are already in the team can get better at what they do at their job when they have better understanding of themselves, better understanding of what the coach wants them to do, you know, better interacting with each other and doing the kinds of things that work for them. Is there a world where that is helpful, where that can happen? Or is it just always that they are wrong and keyboard coaches, keyboard managers, ambition merchants, they are the end all be all. They are the ones that know what is good. And if you dare disagree, you will be subject to the wrath of these people. Football is not that serious, man, ladies and gentlemen. Football is not that serious. It is not that serious. We need to take it easy. Everyone needs to relax. Everybody needs to get back to the basics of football. Get back to the basics of being a fan, watching football, following your team. And it doesn't have to be this zero sum game. Yes, it is zero sum in terms of only one person can win the league. But that doesn't mean that fans of clubs cannot enjoy the journey, the ups and downs, the gyrations of a season as they go through it. What is the point? There are so many teams. Most teams, I would say, start the season with their fans knowing that they will probably never touch, sniff, smell winning the Premier League. If you are, I don't know, Southampton, Crystal Palace, yes, can you pull a Leicester? Can that happen? Of course, that can happen. What are the odds that that will happen? So does that mean that the fans of those clubs should not enjoy watching their team play? Should not enjoy the journey? Maybe they will beat one of the best teams. Maybe not. Maybe they will lose most of their games or drop points in most of their games. Maybe they will just be struggling to stay to not get relegated. Yes, that could easily easily be their reality. But does that mean that they shouldn't enjoy watching their team? Does everything have to be this toxic where there isn't any semblance of common sense? Everything is just, yes, you don't think we should do X, Y, or Z, so therefore you don't have ambition. Anyway, I've kind of like been rambling, so what I will do is I will stop now. If you happen to watch this video, I hope you find it within yourself to tell yourself that, yes, I can be a fan without the toxicity. I can watch football, I can get mad, but I can make a choice to enjoy the ups and downs of the season. And then when the season ends, you can take a look back and figure out, like, you know what, that wasn't that bad after all. But anyway, subscribe to the channel, like this video.